tonight's meeting to order. We're so efficient today. We'll call to order the school board meeting, June 20th, 2023. We'll start with roll call.
Adina Hoover.
Present.
Whitney Rogers. Here. Kevin Marin.
Present.
Angela Steckity. Here. Leah Conover. Here. Carlos Avia.
Here.
Jessica Rodonio.
We'll stand for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The first part, the most fun part. So at this time, it's my honor to begin the recognition of our outgoing superintendent, the legend. I will start with some of my words just to say thank you, before I forget to say that I thank you for your patience. You know, there are multiple questions that I've asked over and over and over again. Thank you for your guidance, your teaching, your leadership. I can say my first memory or memories of you, not knowing, like being a new parent with a kid just trying to hang on. But I know that I appreciated seeing you at multiple events. Like before I knew who you were, I was like, wow, he's at who's this guy who comes to every band concert to hear Hot Cross Buns? Probably more than he wants to. But again, you know, I'm sure you're going to hear this a lot, but I thank you for all of your service. But I also want to take this time to talk about you and just give a little history and that I've learned also on your road and your time in education and the road to CUSD 201. He's not just retiring from CUSD 201, he's retiring from a career in education. And prior to serving as our superintendent, he's dedicated many years to education. His career in education started with him teaching chemistry and physics. So it's like, I knew I liked you for one of my favorite subjects. But he started that at Hillcrest High School and then taught physics, chemistry, and physical science at Sandburg High School. He also coached many sports, including football, track, wrestling, and cross country. After years of teaching, he moved to the administrator role and served as in many roles, including Dean of Students and Assistant Principal at Sandburg High School, Principal of Crete-Monee High School, Principal at Iroquois West Elementary, and Business Manager and Superintendent at Piatone 207 Unit District. He then moved on to become initially our interim superintendent and then was hired as our full-time superintendent here at our district. Thank you. And I'll pass this podium to others.
Adina, thank you. My name is Dan Charleston, and I had the honor to serve on this board from 2009 to 2013. And so 2009 to 2013 encompasses that year, 2010. When I came on the board, I ran as a foursome, and we took the board, and these were turbulent times, great financial crisis and recession, and then we had some other issues. There's always issues. You guys know this. There's always issues, right? And so we were energized. And about a year later, the existing superintendent left, but he left in March. And he left behind an environment where there was a fair amount of antagonism and antipathy, especially between the administration and the teachers. And it was difficult. And so not only did he leave, though, but the business manager left as well. And so here we are in 2010, barely a year into our service as school board members, and we've got to hire and fill these top roles. And so we had a number of candidates, and they were excellent candidates. All of them had remarkable resumes. Most of them had the name doctor in front of them, right, for superintendent. And Kevin Carey's just had Mr. But he was from the South, and knew his history. He was from the Southwest side, and I'm from the Southwest side, and so I appreciated, I know a little bit about those guys down there, and so I was excited to have him be able to come in. In the interview process, Kevin announced that he had already given notice at Peatone that he was resigning, that he was coming to the table clean. And there were some principled reasons why he did that. And let that be the first impression that I get from Kevin Carey. He's a principled man, right? And so, and one of the first things he said was, oh, by the way, I don't want to be your interim superintendent. I want to be your superintendent. He asked for the job there and then. And so I shared with a couple people as we got through that process. I didn't necessarily think that he was the strongest candidate, but I thought he was by far the best fit for what we needed. And I think in retrospect, I was wrong about the first point. I was right about the second point. So he hired a new business manager, Kim. A new junior high principal came along, John Jonak. A new senior high principal came along. Now, when that opened up, I don't remember that there was any more than one candidate for the senior high principal position. It was an old friend of his going back to Sandburg High School, a guy named Jack. And, but he had been a principal and a superintendent at a large West Suburban school and district here in town. And we remember talking and thinking about the fact that he's taken a big step down to take this little tiny high school in Westmont. He'd been away for a couple years on the East Coast, but a little tiny school in Westmont. And we weren't offering enough money relative to what he was earning before. And at a certain point, somebody asked, why would you do this? And his response was, for the opportunity to work with Kevin Carey. And all I remember thinking, and I actually remember saying to Jack at some point, and others in the room remember said this as well, we just hope he sticks around for 4 years. So 12 years later, he's still working for Kevin Carey. That's who Kevin Carey is. He builds teams. So he built a team. Jack, John, Amy, ultimately, Lindsay, Tim, and any number of principals in those schools. And among the things that the thing that he changed first, most immediately and most importantly, was the culture of a district, from antagonism and antipathy to collaboration and cooperation and genuine respect and dignity. And so his demeanor brought something to this district that wasn't there before. A genuine sense of humility about this is bigger than me and it's bigger than us. And so over 13 years, playgrounds, I got in trouble for playgrounds, by the way. Buildings, bond issues, COVID, PLCs. He opened up South School at one point, was closed. And then we opened that up again as an early childhood center, all under Kevin. The dual language program, his involvement hasn't just been in 201, but it's also been in Westmont at the Chamber. He's been very active here locally. And so he created this culture, and all culture comes from the top. So as you guys look for as you guys hire a new superintendent, and I know you have already, but all culture comes from the top. You will get a reflection of who that man or woman is. And so the other thing that Kevin, during his tenure, had happened, before I joined the board, before I got on, after I was elected, but before I joined on, I took a gentleman out named Pat Duffy, who had served for 12 years before me. And Pat, I just had a world of respect for Pat. And I asked Pat what was the one thing he wished he had accomplished that he didn't accomplish in 12 years. And he didn't hesitate. He said, we really need grade level centers. It took him 12 years to get there. Look, he's got a job and you guys have a job where half of the community is going to hate you no matter what you do. But your demeanor and your willingness to treat others with integrity and decency and respect is so critical. And I have to confess, I didn't do that all the time. And were it not for Shannon Hancock kicking me under the table at various points, I would have been even worse. But that said, Shannon, who is in California, who I texted with earlier today, sends her warmest greetings and her sincerest best wishes for just a happy future in whatever you're going to do. So Kevin, I am proud to have been affiliated with you and with your friend, Jack Balderman. And I don't need to say this, Jack understands this, but those are big shoes to fill, Jack. And I am confident that if there's anyone capable of doing it, it's you. And so I wish you both Godspeed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's open.
I'm going to follow that act because he kind of said it all, and there's like one or two things that I still want to say. So I think, it's funny, as a board member, we always talk about how our job is to hire the superintendent, basically, and then let the superintendent govern with some oversight, right? And the superintendent's job really is to, it's a lot of things, Kevin. I'm not gonna actually boil it down to two, but I am. One, to set the vision for the district, and then to hire great people to lead the district. And I think one of the most genius things that you have done in your time here, Kevin, is set the vision for this district of small giants. And I truly think that everyone in this district feels like that came from a place of this being a small community and knowing that we can't do everything as a small community, but understanding that everything we do, we're going to do it the very best that we can. And I think that that vision was and continues to be brilliant for our district. And it has led to so many things that were just mentioned that have made our students and our community feel like they are no longer underdogs, but underdogs who can achieve great things, and they are on par with and above so many of our neighboring districts who have so much more in certain ways, but we have more in our hearts and in our passion and in the vision that you set. So I think that that is something that is going to outlive your tenure here, and is just speaks to your leadership and who you are as a person. And so thank you, not only for that, but for everything that you've done and just for the leader that you are. And we're going to miss you. We're going to miss seeing you everywhere. I hope you still come to every cruising night, basketball game, and every event that you can. But thank you, Kevin, for everything that you've done and for this amazing team that you have assembled and will carry on. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Joel Price, former board member. Kevin, I just want to thank you for all the dedication you gave to our district. You led very diverse boards over my 12 years, and I appreciate that you led with compassion and in a very caring way, and always very student-centered in your actions and your desires for our district, whether it was bringing in staffing programs, whatever it was, your community outreach, all of that. So I really appreciate you. I wish you all the best in retirement. I know you've left the district in really good hands, so thank you again, and I hope Mary Kay has a lot of stuff to keep you busy. Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you.
Kevin Weck, one of the assistant principals at Westmont High School. Kevin, I just want to say thank you. You took a chance on me with Jack 10 years ago by hiring me out of the classroom to be an administrator at the high school. It's been a phenomenal journey, it really has, just with the development, the support, everything. So I'm going to always be forever grateful for everything you did for me in my career. But then also, thank you for everything you've done for our community in terms of our students, our staff, our administrative team. You know, you always led by example in terms of being collaborative, seeing the best in people, being compassionate, you know, having a vision, and then, you know, we worked hard, but we also had fun working with each other. So as Dan mentioned, you know, you really did set the tone for the culture of our district by people working together, coming together for our students in our community. You know, and that'll be missed. You know, you've made a profound difference for everyone here, for our students, giving our district a sense of pride. And, you know, we want to continue that journey, and we want to continue that work, you know, because you've really set the stage for us to be successful with that. So I just want to say thank you for everything you've done for us. And holiday party will still be at your house.
Thank you.
Good evening. Kevin, you know, most of us educators go into the profession because we want to make a difference in students' lives. And then some of us are called into servant leadership, like yourself, to make a difference in students' lives and also adult lives. But I would argue that you have made a difference in an entire community's life. From our school community to the chamber, you have really done such a wonderful job in creating this whole Small Giants vision and bringing it to life, and what a wonderful legacy you leave. So I thank you so much. Congratulations, and enjoy the rest.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. One of the things that Kevin talked about in his outgoing message to the staff was the legacy that he wants to leave behind. And I hope in one of the last evenings I got to spend with him, which was very cold on a Thursday evening of Cruisin' Nights, was all of the people that came up asking when his last night was going to be. But also giving congratulations, young and old, there with many memories to share. But I remember when that street used to be completely empty, and us being also cold at some times, but us having a vision back then and fulfilling it, and now having to think about what that legacy will be and how to fulfill it moving forward. The moment when our friend Ryan came up to ask about Oliver, and being able to think about him in 10 years and where he will be as a student, just knowing that that is what our community is all about. I hope that you keep those memories and the memories of us and what you've built us to be in your heart while you are relaxing and having fun. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I wrote my remarks down because I'm socially awkward, so. So I may be relying on this a little too much, but sorry. Today we are gathered to Kevin Carey's last board meeting. I said maybe 250, 300 more board meetings. We all want to thank him for his dedication to CUSD 201 for the past 13 years, and Kevin is a remarkable educator, and he'll leave an indelible mark on this district. I stand before you as not only as a representative of this community, but as a colleague who's been profoundly impacted by your presence. Throughout the 9 years working with you, you've been more than a leader. You've been a mentor, a guide, and a cherished friend. You meet all challenges with grace, resilience, and unwavering dedication to your staff and your students, and you have an amazing ability to navigate through complex situations with wisdom, compassion, and usually good humor. You were side by side with us during the most difficult times, and I appreciate how you demonstrate trust in your team, but at the same time, your door is always open, your ear is always attentive, and your advice is invaluable. I appreciate how you adapt to changing times. Throughout my career, I know technologies can be difficult, but Kevin always said, no, don't do it for me, teach me how to fish. And that, to me, indicated his real a lifelong learner. And although as a superintendent you hold a position of importance, you always stepped in to help. You were the first one to offer to help, like the time when you had to lift up the interactive board onto the cart in the conference room at South, always willing to do even the simplest things. You always foster a sense of unity and camaraderie among our team, and you never missed an opportunity to feed us. Monthly breakfasts, high-quality snacks, bottomless basket of chocolate. So Mary Kay can count on her household budget to be significantly impacted now he's retired. You've nurtured my gifts and instilled in me a passion for servant leadership and a commitment not only to our students but to my colleagues. And your unwavering support and belief in my abilities have made me a better person, and for that I am eternally grateful. As you embark on your new journey, I'll know you'll find joy and fulfillment and many blessings and have so much time to spend with your beloved family, especially the light of your life, beautiful Clementine, all of which you deserve after a long and accomplished career. Thank you, Kevin, for being an exceptional leader and a cherished friend.
Such beautiful things have been said to you, Kevin, and you're deserving of all of them. I won't go on for too long. I've said a lot of things about my gratitude to you personally. I would not be in this district without you. I would not be having the opportunity to continue to serve as superintendent without you. We both know that to be true, and our friendship is sacred to me, and all that you've done for me personally is very powerful and beautiful, not just your example, but your goodness, which so many people have mentioned and that you're known for. So many times in the past 11 years that we've worked together here in Westmont, decisions that were made that really showed your heart and your love for people, and it inspired me and so many of us. And I am personally very grateful, but on behalf of our staff and this community, thank you for your excellent service, all the hours you give. If you want to keep showing up to all those events. No, but you've earned your retirement, and always present, leading, caring, setting the tone, as so many wonderful people have mentioned. What you've done for this district is amazing. You're going out on top, and you so deserve that because you're such a wonderful, good human being and leader. And I'm very happy that you get that opportunity. Not all superintendents do, but you do, and you've earned that, and you deserve that because of your kindness and your leadership and all the qualities that make you the special person and leader that you are. And I've loved working with you and for you, and I wish you and Mary Kay and the family the very best because you deserve it. Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any other words? It's hard to follow.
Intimidating. I don't get intimidated when it comes to words. I would just say, just that how, in the short time I've worked with you, Kevin, how struck I've been by your humility, and your constant letting these people shine. And I know that comes from mastery of your profession. So kudos.
Yeah, I want to thank you also, the short time I've also been here. To me, you're a great leader with you led with humility and intelligence and humbleness and caring. I think you've touched many lives in a very positive way, and I want to thank you for being such a great leader for our district and our community. Thank you.
Thank you. You're so patient, Kevin. I think I must have asked the same question about 97,000 times in that first, month. You're so patient, and it comes through in, every pore of your being. Being able to be on, to serve with you on this board and to serve on this board to build on the work that you and the previous boards have done and all of the administrators have done over the last 12 years is just an absolute honor. This is absolutely building on a legacy, creating that even bigger legacy. You are going to be missed. And you will never be far away because you are literally interwoven into every part of this district and frankly every part of the town too. You were just so interwoven. Kevin Carey's never going to be far away, even though you will technically be far away. Enjoying your family, but you're going to be missed so much. And I just cannot thank you enough for your dedication over the years and your constant new ideas and new thoughts and willingness to try different things. I can't wait to see what the kids who come out of 201 are going to achieve, because it's going to be amazing stuff. And that's built on the foundation that you built. So thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to backtrack to just from a parent lens. I watched the numbers when I first moved to Westmont, which would have been right before you took over. The amount of growth I've seen over the last 13 years has been amazing. Your presence is known, everybody's covered everything, but knowing even before I stepped foot on this board, I knew who you were, your presence around town, your presence at school events, all the schools. It showed you cared, you showed up, and everyone has seen that. I'm glad to have stepped on the board when I did, even though it was slight chaos. I would have taken that chaos compared to what you stepped into and built. So I appreciate everything you've brought forward with the previous board and everyone you've worked with. And yes, you will absolutely be missed, Kevin. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I'm going to speak as the newest board member. I didn't have, of course, the opportunity, to work with you as long. But as Ange just said, I'm going to actually speak from a perspective as a parent. I know you probably knew who I was before I even ran for the board, because there were a lot of emails and communications that we had and things like that. But one thing that I can say, even if between those correspondences, there wasn't always where we saw eye to eye, you always met me where I was at, as a parent. And if nothing else, I could just definitely tell you gratitude for that, because being in the position as yourself and as the principals, which I know every principal at every school personally, I've gone into offices, not on anything bad with my kiddos, but just building that, rapport. I have that rapport with Tim, with Lindsay, with Jack, with Ms. Quattrone, literally, because my kids have been, in every school. Just having that opportunity, to know that I've literally called every principal, walked into an office, sent an email with each and every last one of them, and if it wasn't something that, I could communicate with you, I could communicate it with them, as a parent. or vice versa. And just to know that that flexibility is there in our district. Again, even if it's not a see the eye to eye and agreement, just knowing, just to meet that person where they are, you know, I'm appreciative for that. So gratitude for that.
Thank you.
So, and we're at the end of this portion, and so, again, Kevin, we thank you. I don't know if you want to speak at all.
Well, thank you everyone for the kind comments. It's greatly appreciated. I would have retired a couple of years ago. I would be here. But I always, my superintendent's report's always at the end of the meeting, and that's, what I'll make my final comments to the board and to the community. But I truly appreciate, everybody coming out this evening and for the kind words. It's greatly appreciated. Thank you very much.
All right, enjoy cake. Go eat snacks. So we will move on to closed session at this time. The chair will entertain a motion to enter closed session to discuss personnel issues and purchase of leased property.
So moved. Second.
Roll call.
Ms. Rogers?
Here.
Ms. Steckity?
Yes.
Mr. Avia?
Yes.
Mr. Marin?
Yes.
Ms. Conover?
Yes.
Ms. Hoover?
Yes. Return from closed session. We'll start with the approval of minutes. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the May 16, 2023 regular meeting of the Board of Education as presented.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the closed session of May 16, 2023 regular meeting of the Board of Education as presented.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the June 6, 2023 special meeting of the Board of Education as presented.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We'll move to the consent agenda. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented. Personnel recommendations. Annalise Jerkovich, 4th, 5th grade dual. Michaela Crowley, summer school teacher. Sabrina Centino, library media coordinator, Westmont Junior High School. Maria Schillinger, library media coordinator, Westmont High School. Aaron Cronin, assistant sophomore football coach and assistant track coach. Ryan Rinkma, head freshman football coach. Joseph Zubek, head sophomore football coach. Maya Burrell, cheer coach. And Max Hartzman, volunteer football coach. 2, approval of the June 2023 expenditure report. 3, ratification of May 2023 regular payroll. 4, uniform disposal request. 5, appointment of the school treasurer and renewal of treasurer's bond.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Ms. Steckity?
Yes.
Mr. Avia?
Yes.
Mr. Marin?
Yes.
Ms. Conover?
Yes.
Ms. Hoover?
Yes.
Ms. Rogers?
Yes.
Can I ask a question on that before we move on?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, I'm having trouble logging in here. Okay, so the fourth, fifth grade dual language teacher, previously we had a 4th and a 5th grade dual language teacher, and so this year, making the change to the fourth, 5th grade teacher. Can you give me some examples of what this is bringing to the table for our students, besides just from a financial aspect, right? We're making a trade-off here, and you guys all know that I'm the queen of addition through subtraction. This is a subtraction of a teacher. What are we adding?
And I think a couple things. One is it'll allow the dual language students to have more interactions with the monolingual students, you know. And historically, sometimes there's been a feeling of isolation, and so that'll help with that. And that'll also allow the teacher to meet the students where they're at in terms of their understanding of Spanish. And we can even get away a little bit from necessarily grade level, but rather where the student is at, and this teacher can provide that instruction for where the students are at. So overall, I think it'll actually strengthen the dual language program for those students, and it'll be a better experience for the students.
Okay, so it's almost, if I understand it, it's almost like a special education classroom, which dual language is a special education. Because in a special education classroom, you're allowed to have students on up to 3 different grade levels because those students are at varying levels. They may not match the grade level, which is something that we know pretty tightly for our dual language kids especially. So it's more kind of like that, where you've got 2 grade levels, which actually means that the kids get some more time with kids at their own grade level.
Right.
So, okay. And can we expect kind of, as Edith comes in, and I know she's not starting like till mid-July, she's got a real fun vacation kicking off. She hasn't even started yet, and she's already had a meeting. Can we expect like some more information from Edith? And I know that Annalise worked with Edith.
Mm-hmm.
She came from her district,
Right,
so
right.
they've got a really great relationship, and well enough for her to recommend her to come here. So can we expect kind of more communication from like the team, right? The newly formed dual language team with Edith and Lindsay, and can we expect that as we get closer to the beginning of the school year?
Yes, yes. And I think even throughout the school year, you know, there will be updates for the community and the board, not only dual language, but bilingual, ELL, so our bilingual program, there will be updates.
That'd be great.
And I think this is a great opportunity. We have a powerhouse and a go-to, at least so far, and I see that team building, but so far, powerhouse team that's dedicated, something that this board has asked for, the development of that dual language program to prosper and be enriched and grow. So I think there's much more to come. Community, again, one of your favorite suggestions and reminders is that be on the lookout at least for information, but also we welcome volunteers and candidates.
Join the committees.
Yeah, and so for anybody who's watching at home who didn't get a chance to make it to meet Edith last week, do not fret. That will not be her last time hanging out with us. She had so much fun. She can't wait to start. And she does start kind of like mid-July-ish, I think. I can't remember the exact date. And she's eager to meet everybody. So give her a little bit of time to get into the seat. But she's ready to answer questions and help out. So I definitely encourage anybody at home who has questions about it to, reach out to the building administrators and also Edith as she gets into her seat mid-July. So cool. Thank you. Thank you for that.
Right. We'll move to information and discussion with the monthly financial statement for May 2023.
Attached to tonight's agenda is the May 2023 financial report. On the revenue side, the district has received $21.3 million through the month of May. That is roughly 69% of the total budgeted revenue for this fiscal year. In May, the district received roughly $2.4 million of early property taxes from the 2022 tax levy. The majority of it would be coming in June. So we got a portion towards the end of May, which is historically from prior tax levy. On the expenditure side, the district has spent $31.1 million, or 82% of the total expenditures through the month of May. This represents a $960,000 from prior year. What makes up the difference from the prior year is the bulk of taxi costs that the district paid this past month of May. Also, the district has shifted spending internal controls. Historically, the district has stopped building spending a lot earlier. This year, the last day was May 15th. So at the building level side, the spending will be stopped for the remainder of the school year. So that makes up that difference from the prior year. Any questions?
There are no further questions. We'll move to the strategic plan update.
Good evening, Board of Education, Mr. Carey. Earlier in the year, we talked about the strategic plan and the various plans of action that we were implementing throughout the year. And one of the things that you asked me for was more quantitative data that met the strategic plan. So I have a few pieces of information to give you. Some of it is based on preliminary information that we got, and some of it we're continuing to get information. Summer is a really busy time for us, but I'll be able to give you some updates with regard to the goals, meeting the goals of the strategic plan. So we'll once again provide a reminder of the strategic plan goals. I'll give you some information about some aligned professional learning activities that were part of those action plans. I'll provide quantitative data with regard to reading and math for K-12, and we'll focus on other information for you to receive in the future. So once again, these are the long-range goals to the strategic plan. We're going to talk about two of those sections. One of them is student achievement and growth, and another I'll give you some information about some data that answers to the student achievement, stakeholder and engagement. I want you to make a note of how our goals for student achievement are phrased with regard to growth and not achievement. So when the admin team created these goals, we knew that it was isn't beneficial to set a goal saying that, for example, 100% of our students will read on grade level, or 100% of our students will achieve grade level math. That those types of goals have been tried by the government, and that's how we, that was the kind of the NCLB way. And when we hashed over how we were going to write our goals, we recognized that our students come to us in many different levels, and they are impacted by factors such as socioeconomic, English language learners, special education. But what we are committed to is that 100% of our students will learn. Their achievement will be based on growth. So we are committed to, regardless of where our students come to us, we'll start them at a level, but then we'll achieve growth throughout the year, and that we can point to that data to be able to say that, yes, what our children have learned. Obviously, the growth is important when we're trying to close a gap, but it's also essential for students that come to us that have already achieved proficiency in those grade level goals and standards. We still want to ensure that those students grow to show that they're learning every year as well. The second part of I will also address the attendance rate and the graduation rate. That information wasn't in your packet because I just got that today, so I'll share that with you. One really important experience that we had within the past couple of weeks was we brought together teachers kindergarten through 12th grade, and we worked together as a K through 12th grade team to align our curriculum and ensure that we have viable and guaranteed curriculum for our students, because that is the first question of our PLCs is, what are we going to teach? What do we expect our students to learn? And that's why the curriculum alignment is essential to be able to meet our goals of student growth. So we met as a team it's funny because the picture I have is of the math meeting, but the screenshot is of the English language arts standards. So the goal of the meetings, we met as a math team and we met as an English or reading team, was to go standard by standard by standard and to ensure that each standard is scored in a way that we can identify that standard as an important standard of, we have lots of different terms to it, but basically what it means is that we recognize that as something that students have to walk out the door and be proficient in. So you'll see how we scored each standard on a rubric based on students needing to have that standard to be ready for the next grade level. Students need that proficiency and that skill to engage in content area learning. The standard is assessed, and the assessments that we looked at were the state assessments as well as the benchmark assessments, and students will leverage that proficiency for years to come. So based on that activity and that work, our teachers went through all of the standards and we scored them based on this process, and then we aligned, we put all the standards up on like a poster board, and teachers walked through and had created noticings and had discussions and sometimes debate about how there's an alignment, and it was remarkable how that collaboration went so well. And it was amazing how teachers, when they went through those standards and those proficiency models, how aligned they were. And so now we have created a document for all of us to sort of go use as a framework for both reading and actually it's all of English language arts, so includes writing and speaking and listening, as well as math, so that we can ensure that we have targets that are aligned, vertically aligned across all grade levels. And that collaboration was so powerful, and it was so gratifying to watch, like our kindergarten teacher being mentored by our, high school teacher, and how, all of us learned from each other, and that process really facilitated collaboration, which we don't always get a chance to engage in. But the relationships that were formed from that experience are going to last, and they're going to be productive for a long time to come. So the benefit of doing this is going to be evident. I'll point it out when I show you the preliminary information from the IAR. First thing we'll take a look at is just some preliminary scores and student growth information. Kindergarten through 8th grade takes a benchmark assessment 3 times a year. The publisher's called iReady, and we use Ready Math as our core resource. And the students take this assessment in math and in reading. Visually, you can see by school their proficiency levels. Students that are at grade level are reflected in green. It's by school at first, and then yellow is 1 grade level below, and then red is 2 or more grade levels below. I have it by grade level. I won't go through it by grade level, but I have it by grade level for the board. The other thing that's important to the one benefit of this particular assessment is that the assessment measures growth. So when students take the assessment in the fall, for example, the tool helps set goals for all students to move the bar based on national norms. That's the kind of the growth target. The stretch goal is what we look at for students who are below grade level. The stretch goal helps students understand what it would take to close the gap between where their current position is in proficiency and what their peers are in grade level proficiency. So the really cool thing about this particular tool, and the way I took a screenshot for you to see the amount of students that achieve growth. But the cool thing is that we have the ability to compare, say, the EL students against their peers, or the special ed students, that we can see which subgroup of students, where they're at in terms of their achievement toward their stretch goal in that case. So by school, our goal is 100% of our students will achieve growth. So this by school will show, and the column that says percent of students that improve their placement would be their growth, would be students that achieve growth. So once again, I for your benefit, I did this by grade level, and I showed the growth levels by grade level. And then this would be the reading assessment. So based on, this is by school, and then you can see the percent of students that achieve growth this year. This is the grade level, and then this is the grade level's growth. What's interesting is, in the past, the IAR was closely aligned. Like students that achieved in the IAR, you could look at the iReady, and the percentages were pretty close. This year, students that, like the 5th grade has some work to do, their achievement in IAR reflects more positively than, no, I'm sorry, it's the other way around. The achievement in iReady reflects more positively than IAR. So what the difference between the IAR achievement scores and the iReady, so iReady doesn't, I guess, looks much better than IAR, It means that our curriculum isn't aligned to IAR. So our standards and our learning targets are less aligned. So that's why it's important for us to go through that process that we did last week to ensure that we align our curriculum and develop proficiency scales and targets that are aligned to IAR. And when we look at our curriculum, we have a core resource, but ensure that our students are experiencing learning activities that are aligned not just to the iReady units, the way they're written, but the IAR assessment. The IAR is just a snapshot. It's just one assessment, and it's just a period of time. We can't use IAR to show growth, but we are held accountable for the scores because it is the state assessment. So that's why it's important for us to not just look at student growth based on iReady, which is kind of a local assessment, but also ensure that there's you can predict students' achievement on the IAR based on their proficiency in iReady. It has been closer in the past. This year it's not as close. But once again, the work we're doing in the curriculum will kind of make that correction. The SAT, the top bar reflects the achievement, and then I did a little chart to show the growth. Green is, good growth. Blue is over 100 points growth. Yellow is around 30 points or less. But as you can see, that for math, 86% of our students achieve growth. And once again, the high school, similarly to K-8, they take an SAT test, a practice test, or an experience that is as much like the SAT as the teachers can make it. They use retired tests, and so the teachers look at that data the same way we do for iReady. They look at the data in the beginning of the year, and they use that to drive their instruction. And then they take another test in the middle of the year, and then they base this growth on the difference between the SAT and what the students scored at in the beginning of the year. So for reading, 90% of our students achieve growth. Any questions so far? These two pieces of data I just got this morning. The graduation rate is 95.6, almost 96%. Our goal is 97. And our average daily attendance, our goal is 94%, and we're essentially at 94%. Any questions?
Awesome.
Yes.
So in regards to the long range goals,
yes,
for the 100% post-secondary, has there been any consideration as it compares to the students who are engaging in the experiential and inquiry-based learning opportunities? So like to fill that gap between the post-secondary and the inquiry-based learning opportunities, has there been any consideration possibly for students who kind of fall in between that for any type of trade opportunities?
So the inquiry-based learning, that kind of experience, an example with that, because it's two separate goals.
Okay.
So an example of the inquiry-based learning and experiential learning would be the development of the STEM program at Manning.
Okay.
Okay, so that's a good example. Another example would be next year we'll do something similar for the early elementary, but in for the past 2 years, we've engaged in, we've got that play-based room, you know, that's an example of, so I can provide data on the number of students that have had that opportunity.
Okay.
So in K-8, or K-5, it's 100% of our students
Okay.
have had the experiential, inquiry-based, higher order thinking,
Okay.
learning experience. The separate goal of this post-secondary exploration, that's something that's separate. So an example would be our students who attend TCD. Those students have the opportunity to engage in training and certification for the trades. So computer science is an example, welding, nursing.
Okay.
Those students, and students that have an interest in the trades, and an interest in that career path,
Okay.
have the opportunity to leverage the training at TCD. And TCD, they provide training that's intense, rigorous, and provides students for a career path that's right out of, you know, right off the start. Not just, you know, sort of, not just exposure, but even more rigorous.
Hands-on.
Yeah, and where the students are prepared for that career path.
Okay.
At the end of that experience. The other thing we have for, as another example, is we're interested in dual credit. So students who take a class at the high school can also achieve credit for college at the same time.
Okay.
The example I can give you is the incubator class at the high school.
Okay.
Students who engage in that class are acquiring the skills to be an entrepreneur or a business owner. So that provides that exposure to being a business owner. And then we also got approval to have a dual credit, so the students can not only take the class and get credit for the high school, but they also get credit at COD.
Okay.
So does that help? Okay.
No, yeah, definitely. And then I have like 2 more questions.
If I could add real quick to that, we changed that language to post-secondary exploration to specifically include the trades.
Yeah. Okay.
The previous language
It didn't have it in
was 4-year college or 2-year college, was very college specific. We changed that for that very reason, to
Okay.
close that gap, so that we are not overemphasizing a 4-year or a 2-year degree for a student that it's not right for.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, what else?
With the stretch goals for the assessments?
Yes.
Is there anything in place for students in regards to accomplishing their stretch goals, either to meet the student where they're at to ensure the success of that assessment?
So what iReady does to help us is when the student takes the assessment, then iReady calculates the typical growth, which is 10% or whatever. And then when the student tests well under their grade level, the assessment provides a calculation for a stretch goal.
Okay.
So all students have the opportunity to address that goal. I mean, even the little ones. We talk about the goals and we talk about setting a goal, for, you know, and they understand this particular assessment. They equate the results of the assessment with their learning path. You know, your little one plays on the iReady learning path, and that learning path is a direct result, and the lessons are designed and they feed into the student's learning path based on their assessment results.
Okay.
So the stretch goal is something that helps students understand that they're going to bridge that gap to bring them up. Now, some students, it's expected that about 30% nationwide of students reach their stretch goal. It's understood that sometimes when students are 2 grade levels below, it's going to take more than a year to get them to close that gap. But the tool not only obviously informs the parent and informs the student, but it helps teachers, design lessons and design learning experiences that will help close that gap.
Okay, and then will those lessons be like shared with the students, like with the counselors or?
Well, this is only K-8, so there's no counselors involved. So, but the teachers, it drives instruction when like in Manning, they do WIN, you know, the what I need. That would be an opportunity for that, like kind of reteaching model or that targeted lesson or that intentional experience to help close that gap. Many of the students who test 2 or more grade levels below are special ed. And so that assessment helps the teachers understand what the progress is toward that goal. And it's really interesting to see the students when they jump from, you know, that red to yellow. It's kind of, it is a celebration. What else?
Last question. And then you probably already covered this, so I apologize in advance.
No, it's okay.
So the assessments and preparations for a place for, or what assessments are in preparation in place for students who are seeking post-secondary studies? So like if they're not wanting to do the SAT because, like Leah had mentioned, like that gap has been bridged, you know, like in between.
The SAT is used not just for a screener for college, but it's the assessment that we use. We are required to administer
for trades
for the state. That's part of our school report card. So all students take the SAT. It's not used for the same purpose.
Right.
Yeah, it's used for kids who go to college that use it for a screener, but then all students take the SAT because we're required to administer it to all students.
Right.
The students that go into the trades, that isn't used for a college screener the same way the other students have, but it's not. And then in terms of like the assessments, we don't assess into a track. It's not really, like students aren't assessed and we don't make a decision and say, oh, you're assessing a certain score, now we're gonna put you into a track for the trades. That's not how it works. So every student is on a level playing field. Every student is provided the same assessment opportunities. Those assessments are used to drive instruction and to help teachers understand students' proficiency with the grade level standards. All students are provided opportunities to become proficient in grade level standards. The decision in terms of whether or not the student wants to go into the trades and not choose college as their path is more about student interest, you know, what they choose. All of our students at the high school have the opportunity to take AP tests. We don't track students and say, oh no, this group can only take the AP test and this group goes to TCD. It's really based on student interest, and whichever path the student takes, we support, we scaffold, we get resources for the student based on their needs. So for example, if a student whose English is a second language, they decide to go to TCD to learn to become a welder, when they're here at the high school, we support them to gain proficiency in English. Like we do everything for every child the same. So they don't assess into the trades. It's based on their interest. Does that make sense?
Well, it makes sense.
Yeah.
I was just curious, like if anything in addition to that was
Yeah,
in place.
no.
Okay.
I think back when I went to high school, it was more tracked. We don't really have a need to do that right now.
Okay.
Anything else? What else? Yes.
Can I ask, I have I think 2 questions. Is it possible for a public high school to have 100% graduation rate? And if not, why?
We have a number of our students that are alternatively placed. So we need to not just care for and resource our students who are in our building, but we also need to care for and resource our students who are alternately placed. So depending on the child's health and well-being and, you know, what's going on or whatever. Sometimes it's challenging to address the needs of those children because the programming is answering an emotional need, for example, or over and above the academics. So although there still are kids, every student comes to us in a different place. And
Can I add to that
yes.
just a moment? Thanks, Nadine. So the legislators, and we have asked them for changes, not just Westmont, but other school districts, believe that if a student has an IEP and is entitled to services after 12th grade, which is perfectly legitimate, but if that said student has fulfilled all their graduation requirements, so the teacher and student and family community have done everything to graduate, but they're entitled to services, they're counted against the schools in Illinois. So in other words, 2 to 3% annually. Now, sometimes it's less, depending on the students, but a student could pass all their classes, participate even in a graduation ceremony, but still entitled to services, it's counted as a non-graduate. It's not fair, it's ridiculous. There should be legislative change, but they haven't agreed to that yet. So to answer the question.
A private institution, like say Bennett, I'm just pulling that name out, right? Bennett might be able to achieve 100% because a student with an IEP is never going to be on Bennett's roster. They're always going to be on the public institution's roster.
Well, in no disrespect to our friends at the private schools, but how they calculate their graduation rate, that's different than the way a public school does. So if a student enters our building as a 9th grader, they remain our student unless they transfer to another public institution.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm quite familiar. There are a lot of students who start freshman year at a Catholic school or a private school,
Mm-hmm.
and then for various reasons, there's attrition, and sometimes fairly significant attrition, and those students could then go to attend the public school, and they're no longer the responsibility of the private school. Where for a public school, if a student's in our system, we are responsible for them. Even if a student transfers in junior year with deficient credits, they are now our responsibility. So when Nadine showed the 95, almost a 96% graduation rate, I can tell you that no student from that class has dropped out, number one. Number two, it's about 2 to 3% of the students who technically completed, not technically, they completed all graduation requirements, but they're not counted as graduates, if that makes sense.
It does.
Yeah,
Well,
and
no,
they,
but yes.
yeah, and
Yeah, it doesn't make sense,
They kind
but
of
it's-
like fall off of our roster, if you will, because they don't necessarily graduate at 22 still.
Yes.
Is that-
Now, sometimes the students will complete their programming and then they come back on as graduates in the 5th or 6th year. But the bottom line, this is completely unfair and it needs legislative change, and a lot of administrators in school districts across the state know this. Students will do everything right, the school will do everything right, the student will complete graduation, they're still counted as a non-graduate. So,
No, I appreciate the explanation. I know that from my work with SACID, who serves a lot of students
Yes.
between that 18 to 22 range, right? That I understand that piece of it, that like 100% is not actually possible, but to get the deeper understanding of in a public institution, and also understanding how we're different, very much so, on the books, if you will, from a public and a private institution, which sometimes you might get compared to, is helpful to hear that.
Well, private, I mean, like a school like Bennett, can you have students that have IEPs? Because IEPs cover a wide
Yeah.
gamut of, you know, issues or typical, or things that need to be addressed for students. So it doesn't necessarily mean that all special ed kids cannot go to private school, just in the case that Jack was, which, you know what, I'm not as well versed on those kinds of subtleties, but yes, when it comes to the kids that are profoundly impacted, then yeah, that's what counts against us.
Cool. Thank you. The other piece is, would you say kind of the trickle down in achievement per grade level is like kind of standard, because you kind of watch it and it's like 60%, 57, 55. And I know we're doing a lot of work at the junior high in particular.
Right.
But you kind of see that like line of.
It's not a direct line, it's more of a, this kind of line. You're always going to have this kind of line.
Yeah.
Always. We're always going to have things to address.
Yeah, but would you say
Just
that it's
data.
kind of typical for those like at standards kind of percentages to essentially kind of like tweak down a little bit from year to year?
The junior high students were profoundly impacted by COVID. I know we keep saying profoundly impacted by COVID. We stop saying it's a thing, but those students who are in junior high missed at least, a year and a half of solid educational experience. And some of the really important learning experiences were weak for them, as much as we tried. So we don't like to say, or we want to stop saying, or we want to stop using the, oh, it's COVID thing, because we do see a growth. I mean, you see that there is an increase for most grade levels. We keep getting better at that IAR. We have some work to do, though.
Cool. And then my last thing is more of a statement. I love the kind of 4 pillars, if you will, of the strategic plan. And this came up last time that we've talked about it. It comes up when we talk about the strategic plan, like how we communicate it more often, more effectively. This is part of the more often. I, as a board member and as a parent, would love to see everything tied back to the strategic plan, right? How does this change speak to student achievement, high quality teaching, engagement, and alignment of resources, so that we're all, as a 201 family, every time, it's our North Star, right? The strategic plan is our North Star. So if it's our North Star, which we know that it is, and I know that these conversations are happening, let's communicate them that way, so that we're able to talk about it that way too. So that's more of an ask and a comment, if you will. So yeah, that's it for me.
That was our intention. So, okay, anything else? Thank you for your attention.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for answering that call. I've seen it's in, like Leah said, we have something that we're watching kind of as we go, but, and I know some things are harder than others, but we appreciate it.
And there'll be additional data that will become available in the fall, so.
I did have an extra question too, with aligning to the IAR, like we are doing well with how we use iReady, but and one of the things was this big important meeting where the teachers are meeting and becoming aligned. Any other steps taken? Just as a reminder, IAR is taken once.
IAR is taken once. It's the, it's the state where it's the state test. It goes on our state school report card. Since the beginning of forever, we've always taken that one benchmark test. The unfortunate thing is that we can't use that test to measure growth, but we do have to make sure. Now, I find value in the IAR test. I think it's a really important assessment. It's very rigorous, and it is definitely aligned to standards. It's not, random. The test items are rigorous and they require higher order thinking, which is what I think is valuable. And that's when we build our students' capacity to be able to look at a question and be able to, it's not all, pick A, B, C, or D. It's many of the answers are constructed response or some other way to answer. So I think that's what's important. We must ensure that our learning experiences are aligned to those kinds of rigorous assessment items and assessment experiences. And we have to align the standards that we find to be essential our essential standards. We have to align those to our instruction and our assessments and really dive into that using the PLC model, which is what the high school does. We have to ensure that we are leveraging those opportunities for teachers.
Have they found in studies that IAR is a predictor of SAT success?
The IAR is, have they found studies that say the IAR test is the predictor of SAT?
Why IAR, is it?
There's no research that I'm aware of. The one thing I will say is that, and this is 100% guaranteed to be true, the standards that are on the IAR, that are assessed on the IAR, are also assessed on the SAT.
Okay.
So whether or not there's a direct correlation to success in the IAR and the success on the SAT, I don't know if there's research specifically, but we know from engaging in that experience, for example, that we can point to which
we've had like inside with the board, outside the board, me as even going through my educational experience, many talks about standardized tests and how much they measure a person.
Yeah.
And so, those issues with that, but it's more so, I know it's not necessarily for our district, but kind of answers to why our state chooses IAR versus something else. Is it
the states that don't choose IAR, the standard, the assessment that most states use is so similar. It's more similar than dissimilar to IAR. IAR is aligned to the Common Core standards, as is most other standardized tests. The key is to ensure that we can leverage our own benchmark assessments. What the high school does so well is it leverages the standards that are tested on the SAT, which are also on the IAR, and they use the student proficiency data that they gather with the students throughout the year to drive their instruction and to provide students with information in terms of what they have to do to show proficiency. So it's why the SAT has such a strong growth.
IAR is relatively new, isn't it?
Well, IAR is.
I mean, it existed, but like.
The PARCC test was 2014, 13, 14. Common Core became, the kind of the level, the standards that we all followed. And so the PARCC test was written to measure those standards, but not just measure those standards, but measure the depth of knowledge for those standards. Not just like, can the kid read, but can the student, identify claim. So that test, 2014, I think, and then they started, it's the same, it's written by the same people, Pearson, it's written by the same people. It's essentially the same assessment. We just call it the IAR because it's an acronym, but
that's right.
There'll be, But before that, I mean, when I taught back in the 90s, it was ISAT, so always there.
Thanks, Nate.
Thanks, Nate.
Get you all excited. All right, we're going to move to amendment to the benchmark curriculum material contract.
Hi, Nadine.
Hi, Nadine. You got so excited. The memo that I wrote you laid out why we're coming back to you to let you know what we're doing. So we asked the board to approve our agreement with Benchmark because it's a significant cost. It's almost like we are readopting a new core resource for reading. The resource adoption is being paid for out of the ESSER funds because it does answer student achievement and it does meet the goals of the ESSER. grant. And then recently, our consultant from ISB pointed out that we could indeed sign a multi-year contract, which, I mean, based on, I provided data for you, but based on that's really fiscally responsible to sign a multi-year contract because we enjoy a huge savings. And what is important to know is that now we don't need to spend, for example, like we won't spend school budget for the next couple of years to re-up the student materials or the digital resources. So we just want to let you know that's what we did. We're going to do. We haven't done it yet, but let you know that's what we're going to do and answer any questions about that decision at all.
And it ties back to one of our pillars.
Ties back to our strategic plan.
Does tie back.
Both resources.
And the responsibility.
Yes. And once again, I'll just reiterate for you and for anyone who might be listening that the reason why we are readopting Benchmark is because the improvements that they've made in the program are essential and beneficial. They've addressed some issues or some weaknesses that school districts have found, and they've addressed them, and they've provided direction and new kind of plans for units and new resources for those topics, including phonics, which we know is really important based on our data. So, any questions?
Thanks, Nadine.
Moving to our item number 4, consultant for audit and evaluation process for our principals.
Sure. This is a copy of the report that I think everybody received.
Thanks, Chief.
Do you want me to provide an overview, or do you want to start with questions?
Overview, maybe? Yeah.
First of all, Nadine alluded to this, and she showed some nice pictures, which I'm very grateful that she's documenting and that we're documenting the process. Our teachers have been working extremely hard this summer. They didn't take the summer off. Immediately, not only teaching summer school, but they got to the curricular work. And that's a never-ending journey. You're always revising the targets and the assessments. That's just part of the process. But our people came together, K-12 and reading and math, as Nadine pointed out. There was an IPA conference today where they were continuously learning, a good chunk of our teaching staff. So I'm really proud of the work they've done. But when we look at the strategic plan and we look at the performance results that were shown, we've got work to do, which everybody does. So we're not resting on our laurels. We're building our legacy. We're building on our legacy. But we have work to do. Jeannie Spiller, in my opinion, is one of the best consultants in the United States. She has tremendous experience, pre-K through 8. She's written 5 books that are outlined in the packet that you have. You have the quotes, which I would very willingly repeat. One practitioner after another in our district who's had exposure to her say that she's excellent, she's awesome, that she's exactly the kind of consultant they want to work with. So there's a need connected to the strategic plan. There's growth opportunities. Our people are hungry. They're continuously improving, which is what our district's all about. And we need to continuously grow. We have one of the best consultants in the country, and we're getting her at a cut rate. There will be many districts in Illinois and across the nation who would pay almost 3 times what we're paying and will be told, no, she's not available. But we get her at this rate. And I am very confident, based on all those factors, that this is more than a wise investment. And furthermore, the table's set. We're doing the work. That's why consultants come in. As a consultant of almost 20 years, I don't hire consultants very willingly. only when I think they're absolutely necessary, and I love to get a great deal. And that's what we have. One of the best consultants in the country in an area of need that will boost our student performance, and we're getting it at a great price.
Everybody's looking at me.
Any questions?
I only have one. Are we voting on this? Not tonight, obviously, but this is not something we will vote on, is that correct?
You will vote on it because of the dollar amount in the contract. The contract wasn't ready for this board meeting, but it should be ready for the July board meeting.
25th?
So the thinking was to provide the information to the board this meeting and then these for board approval at the July meeting.
Why are we getting a cut rate?
Because we're dealing directly with Jeannie.
Okay.
And not going through a third party.
Got it. Thank you.
And, yes. And she's really excited to work with our district.
Do we have a reputation or something that she would want to come?
I think we do. And here's the other thing, you know, I think our people are really impressive in that they're hungry. They want to learn. Not saying that isn't true other places, but when consultants come in, and Nadine documented this, our people are like here and wanting to do the work and excited about the work and following through on it. So somebody who's in demand like Jeannie is would prefer working in a place where her work is going to be valued and where something's going to happen with it. I think she's very excited to work with our district, as excited as we are to work with her. I don't think this is going to be an always annual ongoing thing. I think we're front loading some of this. So I see a reduction in years to come. This won't be, but you know, we have strengths in the district and we have places where we have to get stronger, and this is a place where we have to get stronger, and she has the expertise here. So this is where we're putting the resources right now.
So this fits in with our budget?
Yes, always.
Yes, good.
And what's the timing, like how often, or what's the timing that she comes? And
She'll come 20 days this year, but she'll also be available through emails and phone calls and some Zoom meetings with our people.
it's spread out through the year?
Spread out through the year. She was in on some of the early meetings, but and some of that was to get, that's a smaller contract though. This is a larger commitment to her time. And it's spread out throughout the entire year. I think the other thing I should say this too. What do I see her doing? As somebody who has an unbelievable track record, getting results, and who was an administrator for over 20 years at one of the most successful districts in Illinois, she will partner with our principals, and this is the thing I love about our principals. They want this. Go into classrooms and give feedback to the teachers about how to become better instructors. And I believe our instructional staff is also very excited about this. Also, kind of step back and take a look at where our curriculum is and give some other points of view and assist our team, Nadine and myself and Carla and Edith to us and the principals. So it'll be a dual purpose of working with principals to improve instruction and actually be hands-on, going into classrooms, going into schools, seeing this happen, giving feedback with her wealth of experience and a proven track record, and then also looking at our systems and saying, this is where you're strong, and how about this as an idea to get stronger.
So I think the thing that I wonder about here, right, is the specifics of it. I understand feedback and goal building is very personnel, and there's not a lot of personnel stuff that, there's almost no personnel stuff that can be shared. But understanding, tying the cost to some goals and knowing what those goals are going to be, and then being able to measure them at the end of the year. I know you love your SMART goals. So do I. But I think that's the piece that for me is like, is missing right now. I want to understand, especially because this is not a small amount of money. And there is need for some consulting. There is some need here. But I want to be able to speak to our fiscal responsibility in the sense of we spent this, and this is what we are expecting to get from that spend. This is our return on investment. And then at the end of this school year, if we decide to re-up this contract or with somebody else or whatever that may be, and this is what we achieved, this is what we didn't achieve. Let's just be honest. And as open as we can be with us, and then also in turn, obviously, if it's with us, it's also with the community. But that's the piece that I want to understand as I'm thinking forward to being asked, next year, like, do we want to re-up this thing? Okay, well, what do we get from it? And I want to be able to speak to what we got from it.
Yes, 100%. I've had conversations with Jeannie. I've made it clear. We're looking at improving IAR scores and growth. And that'll show up in iReady too. And that's what she's committed to. And that's what I think the whole district's committed to. So to the point, and I think it's a good one, there are a lot of variables, so we can't say because of the consultant, IAR went up, or iReady went up, and the growth of students went up. But it's one of the variables in the equation. So and once again, will this all happen in 1 year? I sure hope so. Do I think it will? We will see learning increases. The strategic planning goals that we have and the growth parameters, some that we're not hitting, will make an improvement there. Our IAR scores will go up. Is that just because of Jeannie or any consultant? No, it's a whole team approach. So you can't really, you understand. You can't just say this is because of Jeannie. That's not fair to all the teachers and other leaders who are working hard. But part of the equation is, if we're making this investment, the expectation is that everything that Nadine just went through in the strategic plan, the IAR, the iReady, the growth goals, should all be moving in the right direction. If they're not, and these things don't happen in 1 year, but we're not waiting 3 or 4 years either. So to get to the point, how do we know we're getting return on investment? We look at the strategic plan goals. We look at all the measurements that Nadine just went through.
Okay. I'll take it. But I'm going to ask you in a year. You guys are going to recap it throughout the course of the year. I feel confident because I'm going to keep asking it, and other people on the board are going to keep asking it.
We're building on a lot of great things in this district, but that's one of the things we're building on, continuous improvement. And I appreciate and I want to be held accountable, and our team does. I hope you ask it, but we will ask it. We will ask it every week.
Good, let's report it too.
We will.
Awesome, thank you.
I think it's a wise investment. It's not cheap, but you don't get excellence at a cheap rate. She's one of the best in the country. It's not just the 5 books she's written. It's the relationships she's built. She's super in demand. She's going to turn down a lot of districts this year, and we get her. And we get her at less than what most of those districts will pay. So I strongly encourage everybody to support this move with follow-up and accountability and reporting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right. And then we'll move to the elementary summer band camp.
So early in the spring, the board approved the summer school program, and John Costel proposed this right at the end of the school year, and so it wasn't part of the original summer school proposal. John Costel is our 5th grade band director, and honestly, he's done a great job. Our 5th grade numbers have never been as high as they are right now, and I think it's 2 factors. One is the fact that we're a grade level center now. I think that really has helped our 5th grade band numbers, but also it's John, and his commitment to the program. And so what he's proposing is for the rising 5th graders, a pre-band camp that would start July 31st through August 4th. There would be 4 sessions that students, parents can choose from that run 45 minutes starting at 9 o'clock in the morning, the last session starting at 12 o'clock. Unfortunately, with the way that's set up, we really can't provide transportation for students. But during the sessions, each session, the student will have the opportunity to try 2 instruments. They'll be taught many lessons. They'll get hands-on experience. John will also incorporate high school band students into the program as well to help model for the students as well as share their band experience with the students. The goal is so that the students can make an informed decision about what instrument they would like to try or use at the beginning of the school year. And then John would be able to start band, working with students immediately at the start of the school year. Obviously, for students who aren't able to attend the camp, they'll still have the opportunity to try instruments, to select an instrument. John will also be having a parent meeting as well to talk to parents about the process. And Mr. Costa will provide the instruments and supplies during the camp. There would be a nominal fee for students of approximately $20. And then in terms of John's compensation, it would be at the summer school rate, which is $40.43 per hour. And so the total amount that John would receive is $808. And so that's later on in the agenda for the board to approve that if the board is comfortable with that.
I just have a big heart around this. I remember talking about bands at South School.
Yes.
When we were still like masked and spaced and all the things and, the concerns about the waning band program. And we challenged you guys to turn it around and we asked for two things. Let's turn it around and let's get community involvement. And I can't imagine, those are the two specific goals, right? And having Mr. Costal, who is so deeply embedded in this community, be, one of the first people that the band kids get to interact with is just, it's exactly that. He's got so much passion for music and it's amazing. So this is great. Yeah. It's really great. Thank you.
All right. We'll move to action items. The chair will entertain a motion to authorize and direct the treasurer to pay any additional bills received in June, July 2023 that have been budgeted for in the current fiscal year.
So moved.
Second.
If there are no further questions, we'll go to roll call.
Mr. Avia?
Yes.
Mr. Marin?
Yes.
Ms. Conover?
Yes.
Ms. Hoover?
Yes.
Ms. Rogers?
Yes.
Ms. Steckity?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Number 2, the chair will entertain a motion to approve the adoption of the routine 2023-2024 business office resolutions as presented.
So moved.
Second.
If there are no questions, we'll go to roll call.
A quick question.
Yes.
Anthony, are you the representative for every one of these, or?
Yeah.
You are, okay. That's what I just wanted to see. All right, thank you.
Roll call.
Mr. Marin?
Yes.
Ms. Conover?
Yes.
Ms. Hoover?
Yes.
Ms. Rogers?
Yes.
Ms. Steckity?
Yes.
Mr. Avia?
Yes.
Motion carries. Next is item number 3. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the 1-year contract extension for the 2023-2024 school year for the regular education transportation services with Westway Coach Incorporated as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions? We'll go to roll call.
Ms. Conover?
Yes.
Ms. Hoover?
Yes.
Ms. Rogers?
Yes.
Ms. Steckity?
Yes.
Mr. Avia?
Yes.
Mr. Marin?
Yes.
Motion carries. And item number 4, the chair will entertain a motion to approve the elementary summer band camp as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Ms. Hoover?
Yes.
Ms. Rogers?
Yes.
Ms. Steckity?
Yes.
Mr. Avia?
Yes.
Mr. Marin?
Yes.
Ms. Conover?
Absolutely, yes.
Emphatically. All right. We'll go to our superintendent report.
Okay. So
Okay.
a couple of things.
Final Kevin Carey report.
A couple of things in my report. First of all, registration, we are returning to in-person registration for a portion of it. And so actually registration for 2023-24 will be a 2-part process. Families will register online starting July 18th. They'll update everything in Skyward. And then we will have in-person registration on July 24th at Westmont High School. I believe it's going to be 2 to 7 o'clock. And that's when parents will approve residency. They'll take care of payments, or if they need a payment plan, they can do that. They'll also visit each of the school tables that their children attend as well. And so, again, we kind of felt that we were losing a little bit of the personal touch with our families by not having the in-person. Obviously, any families that July 24th is a conflict for, they can reach out and schedule an appointment at their children's schools, and they can complete the process that way. We also, just a reminder, we have some changes in board meeting dates. The July 18th board meeting has been changed to July 25th, and that'll be at South School. And then also, since approving the board calendar for board meetings, it came to light that we have a board meeting scheduled on May 21st, 2024. That is actually going to be the high school graduation. And so that's going to create a little bit of a conflict. And so the recommendation is that the May board meeting be May 14th, 2021. Because of graduations, we typically only have one board meeting. And so the recommendation is that that meeting move to May 14th, 2024. And then, as mentioned several times, tonight is my last school board meeting. And this is my last superintendent's report. And so I do want to say some thank yous. And first, my wife, Mary Kay, who has been patiently sitting through my yesterday, Mary Kay and I celebrated our 35th wedding anniversary. And definitely without her love and support and holding down the fort so many times, I would never have enjoyed the career that I've had. And so, you know, she's the love of my life, but I'm indebted to her. Thank you to my two daughters, Kelly and Hannah. Mary Kay and I could not be prouder of our daughters who are, you know, have grown into such great adults. And thank you for their understanding over the years. It was mentioned on several times the number of events that I attended. Well, anytime I was attending those events, I wasn't home. And so they've been very understanding over the years, and that's been truly appreciated. Thank you to the current and former board members I've had the pleasure to work with. All of you know that being a board member is not easy, and it takes a lot of time and commitment, and especially in the era of social media, it's so easy for people anonymously to make comments. But you know, the current board and other board members I've worked with have always kept students at the focus, and that's always been greatly appreciated. I've had the privilege of working with so many talented administrators. One of the things that I've always made sure in terms of building a team, I never want to be the smartest person in the room. I've said this joke before, but I'll use it again. My daughters will tell you that if I'm at home alone with our dog Oliver, I'm still not the smartest person. Oh, they think that's a low bar. But honestly, the administrative teams, you know, the various members I've worked with have always been amazing educators, and I need to thank them for their creativity, their collaboration, and again, always considering what's best for our students. Thank you to all the teachers, the support staff, food service custodians, maintenance workers for your selfless commitment to CUSD 201, and for everything you do for our school community. And a special thank you to Shannon, my administrative assistant, for all her help and support. The last few years have been great working with Shannon. And also thank you to our students and school families for your support. You have been critical to our success. I know not every decision I ever made or board recommendation I've made has been universally loved by everyone in the school community. But I want everyone to know that the lens I've always used when making a decision was what I would want for my children. Is the school experience what I want for my daughters? Is this teacher the one that I would want teaching my daughters? Is this principal the one that I would want to lead the school for my daughters? Is this school district the one I'd want for my daughters? I can honestly say that whatever I've recommended for CUSD 201 is what I've always wanted for my children. And believe me, that's a high bar. CUSD 201 is a special place. What makes it so special is the people. It's the people who have worked in the district, it's the community, it's the parents, it's the students. And again, I've been so fortunate to work with so many talented and creative and student-centered people. It's been a great run. It's been an honor and a privilege to serve CUSD 201 community and see the amazing things we've all accomplished together. Thank you. But thank you very much.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you, Kevin.
Gosh, come on, guys. Alright, so moving on to our future meetings and events. Again, what was said before, Mr. Carey, that online registration opens July 19th, 2023. In-person registration will be at the high school, July 24th, from 2 p.m. to 7 p.m. And our next school board meeting will be July 25th, 6 p.m. at South School. You know, I didn't ask board reports, if there are any board reports. And everybody's
Just a quick, summer camps are underway, the kids are out, summer school's underway, the kids are out enjoying, except there's field trips coming up already. The school year technically doesn't end. I just want to say, hope you guys are having a safe trip in Europe right now. I have seen some pictures already of the high school over in Europe. And yeah, hope everyone has a fun summer.
All right, we do not need to enter closed session. So, the chair will entertain a motion to adjourn the June 20th, 2023 regular meeting of the Board of Education.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Meeting